Did I say that I was the Director of Legislative and Public Affairs? Thank everybody for coming out at our Success Through RAD event. In spite of the winter weather, which was much more bark than bite, thank goodness, it's nice to see all of your spaces this morning. We're going to dive right into our event, and you guys are not here to see me. You're here to talk to all the folks who have actually helped make this happen, and we're very proud of the work that's going to take place here at Waverly House. Our first speaker is someone most of you know extremely well, Stacy Spann. Yes, you. Um, he's our executive director at HOC. Since he took the reins 4 years ago, Stacy has been anything but conventional. And again, most of you may know that about him. He has elevated HOC status and shined a spotlight on the needs of this community. HOC is not an agency that provides affordable housing, right? We're an agency that preserves and create quality affordable housing, right? We don't just run public housing, we serve our community. An agency that seeks and finds new opportunities to meet the demands of our growing community. And for that, a lot of that direction and vision has come from this man. So I welcome Stacy Spann.
All right. Well, clearly I did not realize I was up this soon on the agenda. Good morning. Thanks so much for braving the weather, what little weather we had as compared to a few weeks ago. Really appreciate all of you taking the time out to join us. And we're calling this event Success Through RAD. Something wrong? Okay, excellent. So first, let me acknowledge a few distinguished guests. We've got Marvin Turner, Director of the District of Columbia's Field Office for HUD, somewhere around. There you go. Thank you. Tom Davis, Director of the Office of Recapitalization for HUD, and so he will tell you that he actually runs the RAD program, and we know from experience that he does. So thank you. Ken Reichert from Senator Ben Cardin's office. Suzanne Lefhelm from Congressman Van Hollen's office. Jeff Samuels from Congressman Delaney's office. Hans Reamer from the Montgomery County Council. And we've got our distinguished chair, Sally Roman from HOC. We also have our vice chair, Jackie Simon from HOC. And I just really want to thank all of you for making this trek here in support of HUD, our elected officials. We've got folks from Harkins here, our general contractor partner, our syndicators are here, other partners. It's just been critical. So HOC's ability to advance his mission is really at the heart of what we're doing every single day, and it's the reason we're here. So yes, it's success through RAD, but quite frankly, this is completely endemic in what we're doing every single day. And so Shauna said it perfectly. We are a part of this community, and our intent, our mission, our effort, all of our focus is about serving. So, what's interesting here is, why are we even here? Right? We're not knocking down a building. Why are we holding this event at all? We're not turning over any dirt today, and it's public housing, right? So what's happening here today really worth celebrating, right? And what about this particular effort signals success? So we invited you to let you know where HOC and its housing stock are today, all right? So this is sort of what it looks like today, right? And under the old scenario of public housing, after 40 years of service almost, all right? So it's a little younger than I am. It's a tiny bit, right? And you can thank HOC for every single gray hair on my body, all in the beard. Just look around and imagine what this building is, right? It's doing an okay job. It's serving a cherished but also vulnerable group of senior residents who, frankly, have lived, worked, raised families here in Montgomery County, and they're coming to the second part of their lives. And so Waverly House is what we've got, what we had to offer until RAD, right? Until RAD, this was what we had to offer folks. So at 30 years old, we can all agree that it's seen better days. There are always challenges with a building of that age, with heating and air conditioning systems, plumbing, electric, the roof, the elevator, you know, it goes on and on. So this building needs millions of dollars in rehab and upgrade. Millions. So who's going to pay for that? Marvin, you were talking earlier about HUD's role here. I was wondering if Secretary Castro had a few $1 million to spare. Okay. All right. Well, can't hurt to ask, right? Thanks for coming. So this problem is much greater across the nation. Right? We're lucky in Montgomery County, but we still face challenges. Comparatively, Waverly House is nowhere near the level of distress and functional obsolescence that other public housing agencies are enduring. Nationally, within the public housing program, the average cost of meeting the capital backlog of one single public housing unit is somewhere around $66,000. Now, the truth of that matter is that is the lightest number we could come up with, right? It's not actually, it doesn't take it all the way there, right? That sort of does a nice little refresh. Fact is that the federal budget can't keep up. And quite frankly, they've never really sufficiently met the needs of public housing. So HUD has over a $30 billion backlog in renovations and repairs. $30 billion. Doesn't have $30 billion though. So that's why the RAD program was created. And RAD has given HOC tools that are necessary to preserve and optimize. And I want to be clear about that word. We're deliberate with word choice. Optimize its deeply affordable housing stock, right? We want to increase our housing portfolio and ultimately improve the housing environment for HUD's current and HOC's current and future customers. So what we're doing that's a little different is we're extracting equity from our properties. And I know that causes some difficulty. But we're taking those funds and pouring them into other properties and giving them new life. That's all we're doing. Right? It's imperative that we do it at this moment in time. And I'm proud to say to date, HOC's closed on the conversion of 9 of its 11 approved multifamily sites from public housing to project-based voucher properties. 9 of 11. Pretty darn good. So let me just applaud our team. I actually get mostly the easy part. They only call me in when there's, a problem, which on RAD is every single day. But we're on track. So we began in 2013. We're on track to complete full conversions in the next 2 years. We only got 2 more years left. We got 2 major projects left. And RAD is not easy. Be clear, it's not easy. But in retrospect, it really shouldn't be. If you're changing the face of housing, if you're changing the face of the community, it should actually be a little bit difficult. It should cause you to ask yourself difficult questions. The truth is, though, there's a lot at stake, and some housing authorities are struggling with this program. The critics said that RAD wouldn't work. Well, we're here to tell you that we're actually doing it, and we're doing it without giving away the properties. HOC is investing hard work, effort, and resources into preserving our affordable housing stock for the long haul. Now that allows us to continue to meet and hopefully exceed the needs and expectations of our customers and this broader community. So we've gone above and beyond to meet the needs of our residents. And it's important to us that our residents are informed and have a voice during this entire process. RAD has enabled HOC to better disperse where we're providing affordable housing units, further deconcentrating poverty, and we're offering residents greater choices in the marketplace. If someone here at Waverly House wants to move into a unit in Gaithersburg, we're going to work to honor that choice. RAD offers mobility, and as a result, will continue that deconcentration of poverty. So to date, 113 RAD subsidies have moved into scattered site units across Montgomery County. And these new units ultimately and absolutely meet families' needs. So let's take a look at one of those families now. I want to see.
I don't know if that there's a lot of people with disabilities living within HOC, but they totally made me feel like I was the only one. And what I mean by that, they really dedicated, time with me, and they made me feel like I was, important. So I appreciated that. When the RAD program came along, we were given surveys as to say, okay, would you prefer a basement? Would you prefer a backyard? Of course, we did not have the options of bedrooms because, of course, in these housing programs, your bedrooms are based according to the amount of people in the home. When I first came to this home, there was no ramp. And the driveway to this home is very, very steep. It doesn't look it, but when a wheelchair is going up, like literally when I was trying to get up that driveway, I was basically like tipping Willie's back. Now, because of some of my needs, that I think was some of the holdup and why I wasn't moved as quickly as I would or they would have liked me to move, because they had to make sure that these things were done. HOC was on top of making sure that all of my needs were met to accommodate me, and I greatly appreciated that.
So through, right? So through RAD, HOC will invest approximately $230 million into Montgomery County. These developments have created new construction jobs, and through HUD's Section 3 and HOC's own HOC Works program, we've created opportunities for HOC residents. At HOC, we've extended opportunities and requirements to employ low-income residents even beyond those requirements set through the federal regulations. This is a new path for public housing, one that is transforming Montgomery County. By taking full advantage of opportunities presented by RAD, by finding the right set of partners who share our commitment to providing quality, affordable housing, HOC is placing units at Waverly House and assets across our entire portfolio on a more sustainable platform, investing where we need to, and at the same time improving homes, increasing the number of affordable units, and building a stronger foundation for HOC and its residents. No one knows that better than our next speaker, HOC Chair Sally Roman. Commissioner Roman has worked with the staff on the RAD program from the very beginning, and we certainly appreciate her support.
Very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to speak to you today. I was appointed to the commission 8 years ago, and I've seen many changes over the years, but there's been one constant: the lack of adequate affordable housing, quality affordable housing here in Montgomery County, and for that matter, nationwide. We live in a community where a vast majority are able to enjoy many of life's comforts. However, there remains a gap that too often goes unnoticed and unaddressed, and the gap between the rich and poor is growing wider. Unfortunately, 23% of households in Montgomery County have a yearly income of less than $50,000. These numbers force people to make very difficult decisions. It's very hard to live in this county. I gather I'm not speaking into the mic enough. Okay. It's difficult to live in Montgomery County on those Last summer, HOC launched a new online waitlist called HOC Housing Pack. Since then, we've had 33,000 applications. Amazing, really. Each application represents a family or an individual in great need of housing. HOC has received applications from families with young children, homeless men and women, senior citizens living on fixed income, and people with disabilities, everyone in need of quality, affordable housing. There is clearly an urgent need to protect, improve, and increase the supply of quality, affordable housing. While we can't house every family in need of assistance, we wish we could, but we know it's not realistic. HOC is doing its part to ensure that affordable housing units are preserved for the long term. The future of our community depends on it. The problem is compounded by the growing challenges HOC faces with our public housing structures that include many old buildings, poor amenities, and limited funding. The average age of our multifamily buildings is 36 years. As you can imagine, maintenance and modernization work can be expensive, and HOC is committed to doing more than a Band-Aid approach. When I was driving over, I heard that the military has literally tens of thousands of buildings that are on the verge of falling down because there hasn't been sufficient funding for maintenance. We really don't want that to happen to us. So we're working very hard and see RAD as a major opportunity to address this. Affordable housing is more than a place with a roof and four walls. Every family deserves a home that is safe, comfortable, and fairly priced with modern amenities. Right now, this is a challenge for housing agencies across the country, as Mr. Span said. With the assistance of HUD and our other partners, HOC is meeting this challenge head on. Pursuant to our mission, the agency has explored many strategies over the years to preserve and add more affordable housing in our community. When HUD unveiled the Rental Assistance Demonstration Project, RAD, the commission took a hard look. We spent many hours and months discussing, asking tough questions, and researching the program before we gave approval. We really spent many hours on this. It is our duty to protect our clients and strengthen the agency's housing stock, not only in the short term, but decades to come, and we could see that RAD offered tremendous potential for this. I have worked with the staff at HOC, and they put a tremendous amount of creativity and passion into developing just the right approach for all of HOC's former public housing units. The other commissioners and I have reviewed plans for each of the 11 RAD properties many times. We really can't wait to see the results in person when the time comes. That'll be terrific. RAD is allowing HOC to breathe new life into our housing units for the benefit of our clients and the community, giving HOC the ability to continue its excellent service in providing, maintaining, and increasing affordable housing here in Montgomery County. I want to thank all of our partners who have helped HOC succeed in this journey. HUD, Mr. Marvin Turner, Mr. Tom Davis, the support of Councilmember Reamer, and all of our local elected officials who have walked this journey with us, Congressman Van Hollen and the other members of our delegation to Congress, our developer and financing partners, including Paul Connolly, Senior Vice President of R4 Capital, and Rich Mazzocchi, Vice President of Acquisitions at Boston Capital. Architects and every person who had a hand in crafting and realizing each project, not the least of which are our amazing staff, including the Executive Director, Stacy Span, and his team, Kayreen Brown and Zach Marks. If you both put your hands up, really. They've done a terrific job. And I just thank you all, because I think everyone in this room really has had a role in making this happen, getting us to this point, and we hope that we'll see you all when we have the grand openings of all of these events, these projects.
Thank you, Commissioner Roman. HOC is grateful for the support of our local and state officials, and with that in mind, I want to acknowledge an additional representative from Senator Barbara Mikulski's office, Lori Minster Edberg. Thank you for joining us today. Senator Mikulski's office has been a strong supporter of the RAD program, of the public housing generally, and so we're appreciative of the fact that you're here. Thank you. In addition, HOC works very closely with Montgomery County Council, who has been in the trenches with us on a lot of these development activities, and I'm grateful to have Councilman Hans Remer in attendance today, who will share some remarks as well.
Well, thank you. I'm really very happy to be here, and you know, in the trenches is the right phrase to use actually when you're dealing with the challenge of ensuring that you have adequate public housing in your community, affordable housing in your community. That's not an easy proposition. So there's a lot that you go through in that process, and you learn a lot. So my name's Hans Remer. I serve on the council. I'm one of the at-large members, so I represent the whole county. And in my new term, I've started serving on the committee that handles housing policy as well. So I have gotten to know a lot more about the work that we do and the people who do it. So first, I just want to say on behalf of the county government how excited and proud we are of Stacy and the team here at HOC. I think what you see are the results that come when people with real energy and dedication and commitment are attacking a challenge, with the same kind of fervor that you might see with people trying to make dollars on Wall Street. They're doing it here for the public good, and the results are just taking off. What we're doing in this county right now around housing issues, I think, is just incredibly exciting. Sally Roman, as chair of the commission, I think just represents really the best of community members' involvement in these issues. I remember going door to door when I first ran for the council, second time I ran for the council, the time I won, in the Kensington Parkwood neighborhood where you live. I didn't know Sally before I knocked on her door, and she came out. This is a beautiful neighborhood, and a very dignified woman came out and proceeded to talk to me about affordable housing issues. And I sat on that doorstep for maybe close to a half an hour, and we talked, and you educated me, and I've never forgotten that. And I didn't know that I would encounter Sally Roman as much as I subsequently have. I didn't know that then, 5, 6 years later, I'd be standing up at an event following her in remarks as we, celebrate a new building going up or renovated building here in Bethesda. But that is what this county is about, and that's what participation in the process is all about. And I feel really lucky to, just have a chance to work with and get to know people like Sally and Jackie and everyone who's involved. Thanks to the federal partners on this, I had the chance recently to sit at a table with the secretary and a number of other elected officials from around the country, Secretary Castro, and I specifically mentioned all the work we were doing with HUD and the RAD program, and I thanked the secretary for bringing that program forward, as well as the End Homelessness, the Veterans Homelessness Initiative. And I don't think there was another elected official sitting at that table who even knew what RAD was. But we are that far down the field. To have 9 out of 11 of our multifamily projects, through this process, I think that's pretty remarkable. I'm not sure how many other governments around the country can demonstrate that kind of success, but it's because of HUD. And your willingness to work with us is just phenomenal. So, we hope we are helping show what this can achieve. This community, Bethesda, is the right place for affordable housing. We're going through a master plan in Bethesda now, and we're going through a master plan in West Bard, which is a very Tony community on the other side of Bethesda. We just went through a master plan not too long ago in Chevy Chase Lakes, which is another very Tony community, not too far from here. In each of these, HOC has played a major role ensuring that the county government does not back away from its commitment to public housing, and in fact strengthens that commitment. So the fact that as a result of this project there will be residents like the woman who we got the chance to meet in that video, and her 3 children. Let's not forget about her 3 children who are able to attend some of the best public schools in the country in neighborhoods that are otherwise inaccessible. Here in Chevy Chase, in Potomac, and all throughout the county. A list came out the other day of billionaires who live in Maryland. Quite a few of them live in Chevy Chase. We have projects in Chevy Chase. Billionaires are sharing zip codes with our families in these projects. I think that is somewhat unusual. This community here, we've got libraries, we've got parks, we've got trails, but if it's not for efforts like this, there is an invisible wall in front of all those public amenities, and all the resources that we have as a community are invested in providing a quality of life for our residents, but without really focused, deliberate, intentional efforts like this one, it's a gated life. And so projects like this just are keys through those gates for so many people. And we've got a lot more to do, no question. We're doing a lot, but you never meet the need, but we've got to do more all the same. So let's work together to keep strengthening the county's commitment to affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Councilman Reamer. You raise an excellent point, and that is that we hear all over the nation, right, about the divergence, right, between those who have and those who have not. And efforts like this remind us of what it takes to close the gap and provide access to real opportunity. So HOC is appreciative of the work that's done by our elected officials, right, but the staff here and all of our partners to help make sure that folks have an opportunity to access good educational systems, right, good public resources, parks, et cetera. And this is one of those examples. Congressman Van Hollen has also worked over the years to support affordable housing and within our communities. And Suzanne Loftham is here from his office with some remarks.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Mr. Span is upstairs. Thank you, Mr. Span. Thank you, Commissioners Roman and Simon and Mr. Turner, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Ms. Sorrells. It's great to be here today on behalf of Congressman Van Hollen. He sends his warmest regards to everybody here today. And he asked me to also talk a little bit about how much he supports affordable housing. He understands that investment in public housing is critical for the economic security of many families in our community. As Congress begins its work on FY17, I'm jumping ahead there, the budget, a strong investment in affordable housing, including capital, will kick off more vital renovations and repairs like this one. The need is great, and Congressman Van Hollen is committed to providing more resources for affordable housing that ensures safety and the security of tenants. A safe and stable place to live, to come home to, is one of the most fundamental necessities of life for all of us. It improves public health outcomes, education outcomes, and family stability. It gives a foundation for the family working to get a better job or pick up new skills. We need safe, affordable housing in every community, and public housing serves a critical role. Congressman Van Hollen will always fight for resources for safe housing that serves residents who need it. And he also asked me to present a citation to HOC, so perhaps Commissioner Roman? This citation is presented to the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County in celebration of the success of its rental assistance demonstration program and its collaborative efforts to preserve and improve and increase quality affordable housing for low and moderate income families throughout Montgomery County. Signed, Congressman Chris Van Hollen, Member of Congress, on this day, the 4th of March, 2016. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne. Now I'd like to welcome a longtime friend of HOC, Mr. Marvin Turner, to the podium. Mr. Turner has worked closely with our agency over the years, and it's great to see him here today because I've known him almost as long as he's been at HUD, certainly almost as long as I was at HUD before coming here. He's here on behalf of HUD Secretary Julian Castro.
Good morning. You know, when Stacy mentioned that comment about bringing a check, like the secretary didn't tell me I needed to bring a housewarming gift. Before I get started, let me also congratulate Stacy and Shauna rather for her work here. I've known Shauna, as she said, many years. What you don't know about Shauna, perhaps, is that her leadership and commitment helped preserve many other communities down after Hurricane Katrina. So she was on the road for many prior secretaries and helping to build the Gulf Coast about, was that a $17 billion project? Yeah. So good morning, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this presentation on behalf of Secretary Julian Castro. The Secretary was invited to speak today, but unfortunately he sends his regrets. He right now is speaking in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on its last stop of the Prosperity Playbook Tour, which kicked off in February. The tour will provide a resource to assist community leaders with thinking regionally to find solutions for providing affordable housing and economic opportunities in respective communities. For decades, local housing officials tasked with preserving public housing and creating new affordable housing have been constrained by tight federal budgets. There's no question about it. The nation's public housing stock is in trouble, and in the last 15 years, our country has lost at least 170,000 affordable units to sale or demolition. As Stacy mentioned, there's a backlog of over $30 billion in capital needs for public housing. Our nation continues to lose approximately 10,000 units of housing units annually. So finding affordable housing and preserving the affordable housing stock that we have is a cornerstone for programs such as HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration. RAD allows public housing authorities and owners of other HUD-supported properties to access private financing to rehabilitate and preserve existing affordable housing, expanding opportunities in communities around the nation. No doubt about it, it's an important tool, and without it, the nation can expect to lose thousands of public housing units each year through demolition or sale. Doing nothing, quite simply, is not an option. So earlier this week, Secretary Castro stated, for each affordable unit of housing we could preserve through RAD, there's a family that has a safe and decent place to call home. It is clear that in an environment in which public resources will never be able to meet the increasing unmet capital needs of public housing, government must tap into the power of the private market to preserve and expand our affordable housing stock. Far from privatizing public housing, RAD is an innovative public-private partnership that preserves a segment of housing market that is in short supply. HUD's proposed budget reflects our duty to revitalize underserved communities. While HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program has averaged already approximately $2 billion for crucial repairs, we certainly could use more. And we've asked Congress for $50 million to make targeted investments in 25,000 new units and to eliminate the remaining cap on the number of units eligible. Executive Director Stacy Spann once said, RAD represents a generational opportunity to preserve and expand and improve the quality of affordable housing in a manner that is financially sustainable. While optimal solutions may differ from one jurisdiction to another, RAD offers the tools necessary for housing authorities to transform the nation's public housing stock for the next generation and beyond. So HUD has challenged housing authorities around the country, and indeed the HOC, to use the RAD program to ask hard questions and to take this opportunity to build back former housing units even better this time around. This includes questioning where we place housing for our most vulnerable families and most vulnerable individuals, like the elderly residents here at Waverly House. Here within our own backyard, God's own backyard, HOC has accepted that challenge and knocked it out of the park. They've leveraged the value of the land and are returning units to the market with amenities and features that are competitive within the market. And have done all of this while increasing the supply of affordable units within this high-cost market area. In fact, many of you may know that the Secretary spotlighted HOC's RAD conversion in a case study, focusing on HOC portfolio reports, which included substantial rehabilitation, demolition, and on-site reconstruction and transfers assistance. So congratulations to HOC, Montgomery County, and the families that have been served and will continue to be served through the preservation of this unit. In conclusion, by leveraging private investment and increasing collaboration with state, local, and tribal governments and other traditional housing partners, I know we can build a future where affordable housing is available to all. May God bless you all, and may God continue to bless these United States of America. Thank you.
I had to give him a hard time for embarrassing me like that. So thank you, Mr. Turner, for your words. Our next speaker is Tom Davis. And when I tell you that we have been in the trenches with our partners, I know for certain that this man has been in the trenches on these programs, on HOC's deals, and we look forward to him hiking up his boots and his military gear for the last 2 transactions on our list. So Mr. Tom Davis.
Thanks so much for having me here. It's great to get out and see the good work that folks are doing with the RAD tool. We spend a lot of time thinking about these efforts in the HUD building, but it's very different to be out and seeing them on the ground. So when I started thinking about this event, I gathered thoughts from others in my office who have worked with the Housing Opportunities Commission longer than I have. I'm relatively recently joined to HUD, taking the reins of the Office of Recapitalization about 8 months ago. So even though RAD is a program designed to stir creativity, the first reaction I got when I was asking folks about their experience with HOC was, and this is a direct quote, "They're so creative, they stressed out the entire building." And that was before you all hired away one of our superstars, Shauna. Certainly HOC is doing some really amazing work. It's true that HOC has taken the opportunity that the RAD tool offers and is taking full advantage of what you can do with it, notwithstanding the fact that as a program, RAD is budget neutral. It's the same money that HOC was working with beforehand that HOC is working with now. In the Office of Recapitalization, we're very proud of the creativity that PHAs across the country, led by HOC and others, have applied to improve the quality of housing that you offer and to create more housing with this same amount of money. The regulatory flexibility inherent in the RAD program has allowed PHAs to leverage nearly $2 billion, as Marvin mentioned, in construction to improve properties that are in the public housing portfolio. Here in Montgomery County, it's tens of millions of dollars of construction work that is happening in the properties that Montgomery County is converting under RAD. That represents quality of life changes for residents, like replacing kitchens and baths here at Waverly House with new flooring, new fixtures, new cabinets, the kind of things that, well, that video I don't think was here, but that kind of kitchen. That investment represents basic fairness and removing barriers to happy and healthy retirements with accessibility improvements like ramps, grab bars, all the rest of the things that are essential to remove barriers that people face. These investments represent protecting the planet through energy efficiency improvements like the new central heating and cooling systems that are getting installed here and at our Arcola Towers and other HOC properties. It's creating new choices for residents through transfer of authority, transfer of the assisted unit from distressed properties to smaller scattered site communities that are integrated in good neighborhoods throughout Montgomery County, as HOC is doing with the Emery Grove transaction. And it's expanding the supply of affordable housing by planning on new modern communities, like what HOC is thinking about for the former Emery Grove site, reflecting all of the decades of learning and best practices that the affordable housing and the housing opportunity communities have developed over the years. And folks here in HOC and other leaders like HOC around the country are figuring out how to take all of that best practice and apply it in the RAD context. At its core, what HOC is doing in the RAD transactions, and what others are doing like it, following HOC's path, is implementing a transformation of its entire portfolio. Taking the flexibility that RAD offers, applying this tool. It's a voluntary tool that housing authorities across the country can choose to implement or not based on whether it works in their local communities. But applying this voluntary tool in incredibly creative ways, tapping into the assets that HOC has. One of these assets is not more money from us, which makes it all the harder, and setting the bar very high in terms of what is the mission objective and how is the HOC gonna achieve that mission with a laser focus on treating the residents right, making sure all of the residents who are currently served can come back to the renovated properties, which is one of the core principles of the RAD program, and in that right of return. And fundamentally, HOC is entering into a new business model, a modern asset management model, and putting its portfolio, as you've heard, on a sustainable foundation, a sustainable platform in all respects. Financially sustainable, environmentally sustainable, operationally sustainable, and most important, a stable, sustainable platform for the residents to thrive in high quality housing long term. So I'm really proud to be here as you launch this chapter in the RAD transformation, and I look forward to your continued leadership, setting the bar high and demonstrating what new tools and entrepreneurial creativity can all of us do for the residents of Waverly House and for the residents of communities across the country and across Montgomery County in implementing the RAD transactions. So thank you very much for having me here and for all the work that you're doing here.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Look forward to, again, you with your flak jacket and your boots for the last two transactions. Everyone has talked about the creativity that has gone into making RAD work, and Tom is exactly correct. This was we volunteered for this, right? We volunteered for service, and one of the first folks on the front line to under the charge of Mr. Stacy Spann was Kayreen Brown and her team. So Kayreen will talk about, she is our senior vice president. Oh, she is not the senior vice president? Kayreen, I'm sorry. She and her team are behind every deal and every dollar, finding ways to make all of those dollars talk. They worked very hard over the last few years, and there's a lot more work ahead of them, but we wanted to take an opportunity to recognize Kayreen, have her share with us how they made all of this work, along with their partners. Kayreen?
Thank you, Shauna. Apparently I got promoted. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kayreen Brown, and I'm HOC's Chief Investment and Real Estate Officer. And you know, when I was asked to speak or told to speak, something like that, I thought, well, this is a really good event. This is really good. I'm excited about it. But having sat here this morning, I feel even better about it. So in any case, I've been with HOC for about 18 years as of 2 days ago. And I've sat through many budget balancing exercises with Gail Wilson, our Chief Financial Officer, who's in the audience. And it was pretty painful. There was never enough money in the public housing fund to pay for the costs, operating and capital. And so, as usual, HOC found a way, leveraged its own assets, and with some help from Montgomery County, has been able to offer habitable, sanitary, and safe housing to, a group of economically vulnerable families and individuals, many who were seniors, such as the ones at Waverly House, who were on fixed income. In any case, over the years, we've been band-aiding it together, and we think we've done pretty good. But enter the RAD program, and I commend HUD and all those involved in announcing this program, volunteer program, because it has really made a difference in HOC's delivery of affordable housing. At first, we were tasked, my team and I were tasked by the executive director to basically figure it out. And Zachary Marks is in the audience, Jay Shepard, Alan Goff, Gail Wilson, as I said. We've all hunkered down, and many others, because for us at HOC, it really has been a team effort. It wasn't just the responsibility of the real estate group, because the RAD program and all the decisions we're making touched every single division of HOC. Our property management division, Bobby DaCosta, is here, and we've pulled people from wherever they were. Okay, we need your input on this, we need your input on that. Kelly McLaughlin is also here, she's our general counsel. But it's really been a team effort, and I'm really glad to be a part of it. So when we were told to figure it out, we thought, gee, this is another Stacey Spanism. In any case, we hunkered down, dug in, and when we met with Greg Byrne back in 2013, we felt a little hopeful that with some of the lightening of the regulatory rules in the regulatory environment, maybe we could make this thing work. But Montgomery County has a high cost designation, so that taking the operating subsidies under public housing and the capital subsidies under public housing with no new funding, we knew that it was going to be a challenge. In any case, we thought we were up to it. So here we are. Since 2013, we've essentially been a little bit obsessed with RAD. And when our Chief Financial Officer, Gail Wilson, visited California, she brought us back a little plaque. And it really has been our mantra since then. Some days were tougher than others as we worked diligently through implementing RAD, but this is part of what kept us going. RAD, not sad. Some days were sad, but this really, helped, to get us through it. So with all the levity aside, and you've heard this before, we've converted 9 of our 11 public housing assets. And I call them assets because, some may call them projects, may call them properties, but these were assets that were very valuable to us, that we saw not only the opportunity to fix them up and improve them, but also to figure out a way through a fair amount of creativity and hard work to figure out how to use those assets not to simply improve the lives and communities, but to expand the supply of affordable housing in Montgomery County, and that's what we've been working toward. So the first 6 were converted and closed in 2014, and we're affectionately calling those 6 RAD 6. We discussed with our partners at FHA. Bob Iver was instrumental in approving combining all 6 into one owner. And you might ask the question, why would they do that? Well, there's 19 units at not self-supporting, not enough revenues from those 19 units, again with the same level of subsidy to pay for all the ongoing operating expenses. So by combining them into one, no one property was responsible for its own operation. So if Sanders Spring Meadows did better than Kendar, it didn't matter. It was one property.
There are a
And
couple different
our
things.
bond
You're
counsel
gonna have to move
and
through the door.
financial advisors,
Is that
George
your
Reagan
ring?
is here from Tech Rock. They helped us
So you might
work
wanna put
through
yourself right
structuring
there.
these transactions, and we issued about $24 million in tax-exempt bonds, which financed the entire 6 properties.
Do I have a choice of where I hit?
Into those assets.
Do I have a choice of where I hit, or do you just want to punch a hole in the
Address
wall?
systems, to address new kitchens and baths, basically transforming the lives of our families and our communities. Next was the Emery Grove transaction, and Mr. Davis mentioned that one. 54 units, requiring significant investment in these lots. With its location, the concentration of poverty in that general area, what are other opportunities that we can explore to solve the Emery Grove? And so we transferred the subsidies from Emery Grove and placed them into our own scattered site assets. So basically, sorry Gail, but we sacrificed our own revenue potential at those properties to ensure that these families have the opportunity to move into brand new housing and essentially transforming their lives and giving them access to communities with good schools, good amenities, and they're just over the moon about that. So having vacated Emery Grove, it is now poised for redevelopment to replace the 54 units with many more affordable housing in a mixed income community. So we're really excited about that, and that development will happen at a later date. Next, we partnered with Boston Capital, and Rich Mazaki is here for Boston Capital for our COLA Towers. And we essentially tapped into the private market and used equity from sale of low-income housing tax credits toward the renovation or the planned renovation at Arcola. So when it all is said and done, we would have invested approximately $12 million, or about $86,000 per unit, pretty significant, into the Arcola Towers redevelopment. At the same time, we partnered with R4, Paul Conn is here from R4, on this Waverly House transaction, and when all is said and done, we would have invested about $14 million, or approximately $89,000 per unit in Waverly House. So pretty significant dollars, and really using our creativity to figure out how to maximize the asset value so we could raise the maximum amount of equity, along with our bond issuance capabilities and our participation in the FHA risk sharing program, which we are an authorized participant, and that's been really a lucrative combination of private and public partnering to make these efforts successful. So as HOC works to convert its final 2 properties, Elizabeth House and Holly Hall, as you might imagine, they're the last 2 and they're probably the toughest. These envision relocation of all the families into new housing and the redevelopment of those sites. So we're going to look to our partners at HUD again to help us, and our partners in the private market to help us find solutions that meet the expectations of the RAD program, as well as the expectation of our commissioners. One of the important outcome of the RAD program for HOC, even though we're converting all of our public housing, HOC will maintain ownership or control in all of the assets, and that's really a significant outcome because, I mean, we like the private sector, we like what they do, but we can only trust us to continue to deliver or to maintain affordable housing into perpetuity. And that's one of the primary goals of our involvement in the RAD program. So I want to take this opportunity to thank our friends at HUD, field office, headquarters, and FHA, and also the consultants who've worked with HUD on the program. Our friends at the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, who allocated the tax credits to Arcola Towers and Waverly House. Our friends at Montgomery County, who are always in the trenches with us. Our commissioners, Commissioner Roman and Simon, and the other commissioners, who I think they were a little bit skeptical about whether this would work, because again, there was no new funding. But they have been they've been riding alongside us, and with their oversight and asking some of the tough questions, they've really ensured that whatever we're proposing didn't harm our residents, didn't reduce the number of affordable housing that we have, and that we really are truly increasing the stock of housing. I also want to thank our tax credit investors, Boston Capital and R4. They've been good partners, and we look forward to living with them for the next 15 years. As I mentioned, Mitch Bragan is here. He represents Kutak Rock, part of our bond financing team, and we've come up with some wacky things. And we call Mitch, who's our tax guy. Okay, Mitch, this is what we're trying to do. Can we do this? And he's worked with us over the years, and certainly through these financings, to ensure that we're not running afoul of any of the tax rules, and that our bonds are tax exempt as they were intended in the beginning. We also have a team of general contractors, architects, and others. I can't end this these brief remarks without acknowledging Morrison Avenue Capital and Sensei, our consultants, who have helped us work through the regulatory environment of HUD, because it's not easy. And so one of the things that they've confessed to us, which we've kind of like, they've confessed to us having never had to pull an all-nighter until RAD since college, and that's something. 'Cause these are not 22-year-old guys. These are folks that have been in the business for a long time. But whenever an issue came up, whenever we needed to resolve something, we'd get on the phone, and everybody jumped in, all hands on deck, and we just worked through it. I mean, that's just the way we've been doing it for the last 3 years, and I think it's paying off. So thank you again, everyone. I do look forward to working with the core team, our friends at HUD, and others, as we work through the last 2 remaining transactions. Thank you.
And as you can tell, one of the things that we are most proud about in having been able to get to this point in RAD is the partnership that we've created with the organizations who've worked with us. So I'd like to very quickly bring up Mr. Paul Connolly, who is the Senior Vice President at R4 Capital. So.
Good morning, everybody. The low-income housing tax credit is a major mechanism for affordable housing preservation and production. It is used, it's a separate program from RAD, but is often used in conjunction with RAD. They provide 2 separate sources of revenue and of capital in order to develop and to maintain affordable housing. As a national syndicator, we bring in banks, insurance companies, and other corporate investors who invest in affordable housing, creating a public-private partnership that we believe has been very effective in owning and maintaining affordable housing. We work across the country, and we have seen so many public housing units, particularly in high-income areas, recently turn over to market rate housing, losing very, very, of course, very valuable assets for all of our community, and creating greater division of income inequality. So we are absolutely elated to be working in Montgomery County. We find that this market is just perfect for maintenance of affordable housing. It is an area that continues to grow and has strong demand. And as these properties age, we see that there's a lot of need for the money for the update, and we think that the partnership between RAD and the low-income housing tax credit has just been perfect. It's really done a great job in preserving these units. A big shout out to HOC, to Stacy, Zach, Karine, and Gal. They did an excellent job in spearheading this. To me, the telltale sign is I didn't hear that much about RAD during our closing process. So they were actually doing 2 closings, both of which are extremely difficult and extremely complex. And I think that we were not aware of all they were going through on one side, which means that they were handling both sides and doing an excellent job. They were superbly qualified, competent, and responsible developers. We've paid more for Waverly House in our market than we've ever paid for here to date in a tax credit deal. So you could also add on that they're excellent negotiators. As I said, we are big fans of the RAD program. It's doing a fantastic job in preserving well-needed affordable housing throughout the country, and we look forward to doing quite a bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I am sure that our commissioners are very happy to hear about their negotiation skills of leadership. And quickly, I'd also like to bring up someone from Boston Capital. Boston Capital is a low-income housing tax credit investor for the RAD project at Arcola Towers, which Kayreen mentioned during her remarks. It's another senior HOC housing property, and Rich Mazaki has almost 20 years of experience in real estate, so we're grateful to have his participation, and thank you.
Good morning. I can assure you what Paul had mentioned is true. They do drive a hard bargain at HOC. On behalf of Boston Capital, I'd first like to express our sincere appreciation for Stacy getting us involved in this transaction, Arcola Towers. You know, the team, I'll reiterate what a lot of people have already said. The HOC team is really top tier and second to none in terms of the partners that we deal with all across the country. I'd like to congratulate HUD and the entire HOC team on the closing of the RAD transactions that they've done to date, and I know they will get the other two done just as well. When I think back to, it was probably about 18 months ago, we started talking to the HOC team about Arcola Towers. The one thing that strikes me in terms of their team is really the dedication and the passion involved really throughout the entire team in this program and serving the residents in these properties, and just really looking to improve the lives of residents through the recapitalization of the properties through the RAD program. You know, again, many of the speakers had mentioned this. The creativity was evident throughout the course of closing these deals, which are extremely complicated, and again, they handled all of those hurdles very, very well throughout the process. I'd specifically like to recognize the efforts of Stacy Spann, Kayreen Brown, Zach Marks, Kelly McLaughlin, Gail, Brian Kim, and Jay Shepard, all people that we worked with very closely throughout this, and we're very happy to be partnering with HOC. One thing I'd like to leave the group with is just, you know, when we look at our collective efforts in arranging the financing for properties such as Waverly and Arcola Towers, the property that we invested in, it's just such a great example of what we need to be doing as an industry to preserve affordable housing. And we've made great strides to date, but we all feel and I think recognize there's so much work to be done, and just would encourage everyone to continue our advocacy as an affordable housing industry for more funding resources, more programs like the RAD program to continue to preserve affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rich. So, you know, you've heard about the work of the team, right? We're almost at the finish line. We're not quite there, right? It's inside. We're at 9 of 11. But one of the things that is true is that we haven't let up on the work. There's more work to do. And we waste no time here at HOC getting started. So we have one more item on our agenda, and because this is quite the non-traditional, right? There's nothing to knock down, there's no dirt to turn over, but again, work is taking place and it's getting started right now. So as soon as they tell me it's ready, we're gonna have the last activity on our agenda. 3 minutes. Oh, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's a countdown.
So you all had a nice time talking with or listening to our speakers, and so it wouldn't be an HOC party if we didn't destroy something. So coming to you live, we got a couple folks here who are eager to swing a hammer and get this RAD conversion underway. So we'll start with Commissioner Simon. Where your choice. Looks like she's going at the corner, at the counter. Uh-oh. All right. There we go. Live on HOC TV. All right. All right, Mr. Turner. Absolutely. Up, camera's following you. Oh, okay. Of course he. It's fun. All right, so we've got Mr. Reamer, ready to go?
Call me Hans the Hammer Reamer. Take this door out with one stroke. Watch. Break my hip, I can break this door. Oh, missed it.
All right. Ms. Lovehelm. There you go. All right, excellent. All right, so we're gonna want a parting shot, maybe? Yeah, why don't you move that light? Parting shot? All right. All right, so I think we're good to go here. Thanks, folks. Everybody, appreciate you coming out. It looks like the sun is shining now, so maybe we'll have you up again to destroy a building.
I don't know if there's a lot of people.
So thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to being able to share with you the final results after they have finished demolishing. They still have more work to do, but thank you all for coming out. God bless. Good night.